And next coming up session is from Akin, and Akin is our Dynamics 365 and Power Platform Solutions Specialist, Microsoft Certified Trainer, and Power Platform Evangelist. So, Akin, you there?
Hi, is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So let me share my screen. Okay, just give us a thumbs up if you are able to see the content.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone, and hello and greetings to whichever part of the world you are in. This is so exciting to have people from the entire ASEAN, from different countries. And thanks to all the efforts that have been put together by the leads, by Jiva, Sanjeev, and everyone else. The session that I'm going to focus today is basically about Kanban boards, which is also called as Kanban visualization in Dynamics 365. It's basically a new feature that has been introduced in one of the latest versions. But before I get into that, a little bit of background about me. So my name is Akhilesh Dubey. You can call me Akhil. That's the short name. And I am a solutions specialist at KPMG Asia Pacific. I am also part of the business applications and power platform community in Singapore and ASEAN, led by Jiva, Sanjeev, and everyone. And what we are going to look today is basically some of the details about what Kanban is, why it has been included in Dynamics 365, what is the use of it, what is the background of Kanban, where it has come from, and what value it brings on the table for the community and the customers. So just to start with the background and what is Kanban. So Kanban is basically a Japanese word, which essentially means visual signal. And the concept of Kanban actually originated from lean manufacturing. So those of you who are from the manufacturing industry or manufacturing background would be able to relate to what is lean manufacturing. It is basically focusing on maximum output in a very fast and robust manner. And Kanban boards have been very instrumental in bringing all of that into practice. And if you work in services or technology, how Kanban basically brings value to your work is very often when you are working in large team who are working on rapid application development, very often you will find your work to be invisible, intangible, unreportable. So to make it more visible, visually appealing, and making sense to the audience who are watching your work progress, Kanban boards are very instrumental. And a Kanban board also helps basically show your work to others and keep everyone on the same page in terms of the progress that you are making. What you see on the right hand of the screen is typically a hazed out view of how Kanban boards have been looking in the past. And just to get more into the details, so what are the basic elements of a Kanban board in any industry? So basically, there are 5 basic components. One thing that Kanban boards are basically made of are visual cards. So you can term them as sticky notes or tickets or anything like a card or anything. Those are basically the soul of Kanban boards. These cards are basically laid down into different columns. So that is the second component of a Kanban board. So each column basically represents a specific activity that together composes a workflow. So you may be having a workflow like these are my to-do items, these are my work in progress, these are my pending items, these are my completed items. And if you have a much more complex process, you can have many more such columns. So columns are basically another component of a Kanban board. Another thing that is very instrumental about a Kanban board is a commitment point. So what do you mean by commitment point? It is basically the time or the moment when an idea is picked up by the team and the work starts on the project. So if you have worked on Scrum or Agile projects, you know that all your work breakdown structure is basically identified as user stories and use cases. So there would be a lot of user stories that would come that would get added to your backlog, and you have to prioritize them based on the client's needs, based on when they basically should come into production and so on. So the moment you basically have decided that now it is the time to pick up a task and to start working on that, that particular point in time is called as a commitment point. There is another component of Kanban board which is called work in progress limits. Now, this is basically to manage your work, to manage your workload effectively. So work in progress limits are the maximum number of cards or the tasks that can be in one column or one stage at any given point in time. So let's say if in your Kanban board, you have decided that at any point in time, my work in progress should be maybe 9 cards or 9 story points, then 9 is basically your work in progress limits. And the last component is basically the delivery point. So delivery point is when the product or service is in the hands of the customer, it is about to release to production or released into production. And the team's goal should be to take the cards from commitment point to the delivery point as fast as possible. And that is basically is what justifies the lean production or lean manufacturing or lean way of producing your work items in a IT project. In the past, there have been Kanban boards used at factory shop floors, in projects, on project teams' floors. And if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, physically, these Kanban boards have been maintained into whiteboards, into walls, and people have been looking at it. They are basically analyzing which work items people are working on, which are the next ones to work on, and things like these. And all these concepts put together has been brought into Dynamics 365 also in form of the Kanban views for your opportunities and tasks. So we are going to talk about them later. And Dynamics is not the first of the application suite that has actually tried to digitize the physical Kanban boards and make it a digital Kanban board. There have been other applications, project management applications, CRM applications. So Salesforce also has Kanban board. Some of the project activity management tools like Trello have Kanban boards. So those are basically the digital Kanban board. And now it is Dynamics 365 and Microsoft core development team at Microsoft who have tried to bring this digital Kanban board into the Dynamics business applications suite. I would like to talk about the business value that it brings on the table and some of the feature details. So in terms of business value, Microsoft has been pretty sensitive and have been actively listening to the customers, to developers and the entire fraternity to learn how they can make Dynamics 365 application as a whole better. And that's why you see all of those new features that people have been presenting today and in previous sessions also, like you have sales insights. You have better way of doing email engagement. Artificial intelligence bits have been added into all sorts of insights application. So similarly, they were getting requests about having a Kanban board into Dynamics 365 application, and that's why you have the Kanban views now. In terms of feature details, board basically lets you easily toggle between the existing grid view of opportunities. So as you know, today when you go to opportunities grid, you have all opportunities, open opportunities, closed opportunities, and so on. So you have different views that you can configure in rows and columns. So now what they have given is you can have a way to easily toggle between the existing grid view and the new Kanban view. It can help the sellers who can view their opportunity pipeline by sales path into different fish lanes, into different columns, columns by status and by the opportunity stages. It is basically a simplified and intuitive experience to move opportunities into different stage. So it's kind of a drag and drop functionality that has been provided to move your opportunities through various different life cycle stages. And the Kanban view also allows your team to move opportunities from one stage to another by simply dragging them. So these are some of the features. This is just a snapshot view of how the Kanban view of opportunities basically looks into the application. So as you can see, there are various different sales stages for your opportunities. Here you can see the open opportunities which are in the qualify stage, in develop stage, some of them in propose stage and close stage. If you have a complex onboarding workflow, if you have a complex business process flow in your organization, then you can have as many number of sales stages, and that's pretty much have been into the application for a long time, but now you can express them into the Kanban view. And then in today's demo, into the actual application, we will talk about things like how the feature has been made available on the 2020 release wave 1. how do you switch on the control, the Kanban view control on opportunities and activities entity. So just to give the disclaimer, as of now, Microsoft has only enabled the Kanban view for opportunities and activities entity. Probably they may be thinking to switch it on or probably make it enable for other opportunities like other entities like accounts, contacts, and so on. But as you understand, to move things from one fish lane to another, you need to have a process flow. So typically, it would make sense to have Kanban view for the entities which have got a business process flow attached to them. They can be attached with account provided you have a linear account onboarding cycle moving into different sales stages. But as of now, it is not available. It is only available for opportunities and activities. And the different ways in which you can toggle your Kanban types or views is basically by business process flow and by statuses. And we will also like to talk about what happens when you try to switch it on for other entities for which Microsoft has not made it available. So just to dive into the application, so this is the actual application view wherein I have all my opportunities laid down into a Kanban view. So initially they were not like this. They were like any other entities where you express your views into different grids. So for example, in activities, I have not switched on the Kanban view as of now. So you can see pretty much it's the traditional layout of the activities into a grid. But when I go to opportunities, it pretty much gives me my open opportunities into a different view, which is basically the Kanban view. I will let you know how to basically start the Kanban view into your application instance. So for that, what you have to do is you have to go to Power Platform Administration Center. So once you go to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, and if you are logged in, single signed on into your environment, you will be given a view like this, wherein all your environments are present. So you may be having a sandbox environment, you may be having a production environment, and so on. So all your environment will be present here, and then what you have to do is you have to go back to one of the environments, and you have to basically see whether you have already opted for the features of release wave 1 or not. If you have not done that, then you will have to opt for getting into the different features of release wave 1. And once you have done that, then you will be given the option to basically switch on the Kanban view. What if you do not opt to go into release wave 1 or you do not activate it for your instance? What would it look like if you try to switch on the Kanban board? So if you have switched on the Kanban control without actually opting to activate the release wave 1, when you come to open opportunities, you will see a blank screen over here with a big message box over here, which would say that this feature is basically part of release wave 1. So you first activate release wave 1 and then only you will be able to see the Kanban view. But once you have done, which takes almost a couple of hours to activate it for different workloads that you have in your instance, like Dynamics 365 for sales, for marketing, for service, and so on and so forth, then you will be able to switch on the Kanban view. How do you switch on the Kanban view? Is basically you go to the entity level to do it. So as you have traditionally been doing configuration and customization, you have to go to advanced settings. So basically from advanced settings, you have to come down to settings area. Under settings, you have to go to customization, and then you have to customize the system. If you wish to actually make it part of your own solution, then better you go to one of the solution where you want to activate it. But because here I want to do it for the default solution, I go to customizing the system. And then now, because I'm aware that it is available only for opportunities and activities, I'll straight away go to the opportunities entity, which is alphabetically sorted. So once I go to O, I get opportunities, and then I go to the control that I wish to switch to. So once I am into opportunities main view of the entity, it will give me the different options to switch on the control. So basically you have the general tab, you have primary field and controls in the entity definition level. So go to the controls level, and this is where you have to add a control, because I have already added. So Kanban is visible here, and I have already switched it on for the web. You can always do it for the phone and the tablet layout for your field sales staff to basically access your opportunities in a Kanban view on a phone or a tablet. So once you go to the add control, it will give you an option to basically start the Kanban. and then you can say that I want to add that control, and it says that you can use this control to display items in a Kanban view. So once you do that, it will be added here, and then initially all the three option buttons would be not selected. You select the web part of it. Once you have done that, you come back to your instance, maybe Sales Hub, and then basically refresh your page. Once you refresh your page, you are landed into your new changes will be brought in. So once you go to the opportunities, then you will see your opportunities laid out not in a not in a grid format, but in the Kanban format. If you look at the right hand side of the screen, you have the different Kanban type, and there is a drop down here where you can select whether you want to see the Kanban view by business process flow or by status. So currently I have selected business process flow. That's why all my opportunities are segregated into different business process flow stages, like how many of them are in qualify. So out of the 15, 10 are in qualify, 9 are in develop, 10 are in propose, and 5 of them are closed. If I wish to see by status, because I have different statuses, then I see that I have 10 open opportunities. None of them are won and none of them are lost. Now, how do you progress through the different opportunities or basically move through the different opportunities is you have to simply select the opportunity that you are working on. So let's say here, if I'm working on this opportunity to sell some refrigeration smart sensors, which was earlier in the qualify stage. But because I have made the meeting with the customer, I have got something, some commitment from the customer, and I understand as a salesperson that now I have moved on to the developer stage, where I have to basically develop a unique proposal for my customer. So it is a good time to move my opportunity from qualify to developer stage. Instead of just opening up the opportunity, you can go to that particular card and you can drag and drop. So you have to select and you have to drag and drop it to the next stage. So once you do that, there may be some mandatory steps to be completed when you are moving opportunities from one stage to another. So you have to complete those steps like identify contact, identify account, and so on and so forth. And then you have to move your opportunity to the next stage. So in this case, I have moved it from qualify to develop, and I have closed it. And then I will find that my opportunity, which was earlier in the qualify fish lane or the qualify column, has now moved on to the develop stage. You can always do it in the reverse direction also. If you have proactively moved it to the developer stage, but later on, after discussing with your sales manager or your team, you feel that no, it is not worth moving it from qualify to develop at this moment, you can happily bring it back to the qualify stage once again. And that way, it will also ask you to basically activate the qualify stage because you are yet to complete some of the steps that you were supposed to complete in the sales stage qualify. So that's how seamless it is to basically drag and drop your opportunities. And then as I had started my presentation saying that the Kanban is basically a visual representation. Any point in time, if you have to report, if you have to basically give a bird eye view or probably a management view to senior stakeholders of how your sales health looks like, you can always point them to this Kanban board and they can happily acclimatize themselves. So if you are working in a lean sales team, then probably the Kanban board makes sense for you to keep track of your opportunities. Let me just show you how the system behaves when you basically try to convert an opportunity into won or lost opportunity. So you know that when you win opportunities, there are a couple of options that that Dynamics platform gives you. Like when you win opportunities, it asks you some information about what were the factors that basically caused this win, and then you have to basically specify them. So in this case, if I have already won one of the opportunities and I wish to move it to the won column, in that case, it will straight away give me the close opportunity dialog box with won as the open status. And you may be familiar that whenever you basically qualify an opportunity or convert into an actual business, it gives you something like this close opportunity dialog box where you basically give the reason, what was the actual revenue that you are targeting or you have been able to target, and what is the actual close date. So let's say in this one, it's a 500,000 worth sale. I just specify 500,000 and say OK to this. So then this would be considered as a one opportunity. And similarly, if you have lost an opportunity to a competitor or because it has been cancelled, a similar dialog box for lost opportunity would be provided to you, wherein you can specify what was the reason for losing this opportunity, what was the actual revenue that you would have clocked if you would have won this opportunity, and things like these. Who is the competitor who won, and what is the description, what went well with them that did not quite work out for us. Now, the good and interesting part of this, as I was saying, is to understand what happens when you try to switch it on for other entities. So let's go back to one of the entities. Let's say in our case, let's go to accounts entity. So because Microsoft has not enabled the Kanban view for account opportunity, if I go and do the similar thing and go to customize the system and say that no, this time I want to activate the Kanban view because my management is asking to look my account overview also in Kanban view, that would not be supported. And when you come back and refresh your page, it will show you something like this, that the Kanban visualization is currently supported only for activity and opportunity entities. So you may want to switch it back to the grid view. So for that, you will have to again go back to the customization and you say that, okay, I'm happy to keep it in the grid view. So you follow the similar steps, go to the account entity definition, and then go to the controls tab, and then your Kanban is selected. Instead of that, you say that for the web, I want to have a grid control. So then you have to save, you have to publish to reflect those changes on the user's end. So once you save and publish this, it will toggle back to the grid view. So that's basically the way where administrators can help you toggle your views for different entities, opportunities, and activities from grid view to the Kanban view, and vice versa. So let's just wait to publish the changes and show you the effect here. If I go to dashboard, or maybe refresh this page as a whole to have my published changes reflect in. If I come back to accounts, yeah, so now you have your usual way of view of accounts and other entities because Kanban is not supported here. So that's pretty much about the Kanban views. This session is going to be crisp and short with whatever I have told, because I actually wanted to put forth more about why Microsoft is adding all new features, what is the pragmatism behind it, rather than just considering it as a technical feature. How do you basically position it to your customers and partners and your management, and when is the real need? So not all the organization would like to manage their business processes in a lean way. So in that case, there is no requirement to basically switch on to the Kanban view. It's only needed when you are actually on the ground working in a more of a lean fashion. So with that, I would encourage you all to ask any questions. As I said, this is going to be a short and crisp session because this is what is the content that is available for the Kanban views. There have been other more engaging sessions on dynamics marketing, customer insights, sales insights, which have a lot of different components to showcase. But with the Kanban views, it's pretty much it at the moment from Microsoft side. So this is it from my side on the Kanban views. Please feel free to scan the QR code for evaluating the sessions. Your engagement with the community actually helps a lot for the organizers, for the leads, to plan the different features and plan the next events. So would encourage you to do that. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now.
Thanks, Akin. That's really amazing demo. We have one question here from iLead. Can we add new Kanban type or modify the existing Kanban type?
Right. So at the moment, as you would have seen or noticed one thing, let me share my screen once again. I mean, out of the box, if I speak, there are just a couple of Kanban types that have been provided, which is business process flow and status. But if you come back to the customization, and if I talk a little bit more about the controls, this control area is nothing but basically something, if you are familiar about Power Apps component framework. So Kanban is basically one of the PCF control that has been added by Microsoft core development team sitting in Microsoft. You can very well create your own Power Apps component framework control, and Kanban can be one of them. And in that case, probably you can have more choices made available to your customers. But certainly speaking, that would need a little bit of coding experience, a little bit of understanding of how the PCA framework works. But you can very well have a user control that you can create, and with that you can create the Kanban types as well, or probably the custom control types in which you want to you wish to see the layout. But just to answer your questions, out of the box, what has been provided by the platform is just two Kanban types, which is basically by business process flow and by status.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, we still have some more spare time. Anyone would like to ask questions? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Fantastic presentation. Thanks, Kwa, and fantastic presentation, Akhil. So, the display itself is a Kanban board. It's fantastic, very elegant, very succinct. If we have custom entities within CDS, could we actually, as you were saying, put a control with a bit of code and then pull those from custom entities?
Yes, Sanjeev. Yes, you can do that, but yes, that would require. If you want to leverage the out-of-the-box Kanban control, I think there is limitation around that. It has been rather than talking about custom entities, it is not even available for all the out-of-the-box entities at the moment. As you have seen, it did not render anything on account. But if you wish to do a PCF control similar to Kanban view created by Microsoft, you can very well activate them for the custom entities as well.
Got it. Because I mean, as I think through this, representing business process flows, like let's say you're in a procurement flow or something thereabouts, this seems like a very elegant way of actually representing the entire flow, and then potentially actually signaling to business users as to where they are in the whole process of procurement, to say, hey, look, it is actually stuck with the procurement lead or stuck with senior management to approve or something like that. So it visually describes the journey.
Yes. And as I had mentioned, it is more about managing your workload, managing the load on your teams, managing your work in a more streamlined way. So WIP limits or work in progress limits is basically the concept which makes sense when you opt to basically move from grid view to Kanban view, wherein you can always keep a check on how many different activities to basically consider in work in progress at a certain point in time. So setting up the limit so that some part of your team are not too bogged down with a lot of tasks. Rather, it is uniformly distributed and well maintained and guided by the top management or from your senior folks. That at any certain point in time, these are the number of opportunities that need to be in qualified stage, or this is how should be the pace of our development or production or whatever.
Gotcha. Perfect. Kwa, back to you, sir. Thank you very much.
We have some more questions here. What is the advantage of creating Kanban board in D365 compared to Team Foundation Server? What is the advantage add to the customer?
Okay, so as you said, as you may understand, the Team Foundation Server is basically a tool which does much more than managing your activities or opportunities. It is basically about managing your IT project itself in terms of what starts as a use case, then moves on to the development, who is it assigned to, and then what is the code that is attached to this, what are the use cases from the testing team that are attached to this. So to have a Kanban board in Team Foundation Server is one part of it, which is basically doing the internal job of how do you basically progress your technical IT development project, and that can be done on tools like Team Foundation Server. But if you are a business team, which is basically your service team, which are working on tasks, your field sales team, which is working on opportunities, then they would engage themselves on a platform like Dynamics 365 for sales or Dynamics 365 for service. And to facilitate these business teams rather than your technical IT coding teams, to have their views or to plan their work in a Kanban fashion or a lean development fashion. This tool has been added into the business application. So there are two things. One thing is about managing your projects, its life cycle from all the way from taking requirements from the customers, development, testing, user acceptance testing, production, managing production bugs, and attaching all of them together, and also managing them in a lean manner that you do in tools like Trello, in tools like Team Foundation Server. But when it comes about managing your business, the front line or the front face of the business, your sales team, your service team who are talking to their customers and who are working on opportunity pipeline and all, then tools like Dynamics 365 need to have a feature like a Kanban board. So that's the reason it has been brought into Dynamics 365 customer engagement or sales.
Thanks, Abhilad.
Thank you. And we have some more questions here. We still have time. Which process flow is considered for opportunity entity if there are multiple process flow available?
It doesn't really differentiate between the process flows. So whichever process flow you have applied on your opportunity, that would reflect here. So if you have multiple business process flow depending upon your type of opportunity, let's say if you are doing a B2C, there is a different business process flow. If you are doing a B2B, there is a different business process flow. When you come to the Kanban view of those opportunities, they will align themselves into that particular business process flow. So it typically depends upon which sales team is accessing, so the user who is accessing that business process flow, and what kind of the read opportunities or the access permissions they have on that particular business process flow. So if I am one of the salesperson who is working on a B2C opportunity and the sales stage has got 4 stages, when I come to the Kanban view and switch it to the Kanban type as business process flow, I would see 4 swim lanes. But if my peer who is working on a B2B, which has a longer cycle and multiple stages, when he switches on to the business process flow type, then you will see multiple stages based on his business process flow.
Okay, thank you. Can we use grid view and Kanban at the same time? And can we filter Kanban board data?
Yes. So I think one thing also I kind of forgot to mention here. The cards that you see at the moment inside your Kanban view, these cards are pretty customizable. So on the screen, if you see today, there is an opportunity topic that is highlighted in the blue. Then you have the contact with whom this opportunity is attached. You have the account for which this opportunity is, which is AdventureWorks in this case. If there is estimated revenue, there is estimated close date. So we have pretty much 5 fields of information, and then we have the summary also at the top. If you wish to see another 2 fields other than estimated revenue and estimated close date, then in that case you can go to the form view and you can do the customization on the card form, and then that would be reflected back here. So it's pretty customizable. If what is provided out of the box by Microsoft doesn't fit you, then in that case you can customize these cards from your form view, from your customized form feature.
Thank you. And I think this is the last one. Is there a readily available report out of Kanban board?
I believe converting the view into a report is not possible at this time, because that would need its own set of jugglery to do. But what you can always do is, if you have a really streamlined sales process and number of items in a particular fish lane, you can always do a print screen and share it with the management for analytics purpose. But I don't think there is a readily available report that you can churn out in a similar fashion like a Kanban view, or something that I'm certainly not aware of. But as far as I know, it's not available to have a report similar to the Kanban view.
Actually, Akhil, this is Sanjeev. Maybe, from a actual practice standpoint, having been in, sales ops, I could take a little bit of that as well to add to that. you would actually end up, if you, for management, if you want a view of your forecast, you would actually be looking at, historicals as well as your pipeline data as you're presenting here. And, the best practice there is to actually take the data out and then present it in a Power BI where management can actually go in and see everything in one go. What has actually happened in the past, and what does your pipeline look like going from qualification all the way to proposal, and build a total view of the forecast by person, by sales manager, by geography, segment, etc. So a better view would actually be in a tool like Power BI. Back to you.
Yes, that's perfectly right. And another thing is with all the different tools that are available now, you have already seen Paul was mentioning how you can have the adaptive cards in Microsoft Teams. And earlier Geeta was also saying that how you can access your sales data in Microsoft Teams. It would make a lot of sense to have different views by your top 3 customers, top 10 customers, and things like these, and have things mentioned in your in Kanban view, and make it available on the Teams bot or the Teams app for Dynamics 365, or Dynamics 365 app for Teams rather. And then your senior management, let's say if your zonal sales head or area sales head wants to have something that he may be interested in, like top 3 opportunities, top 3 pipeline items, then you can have a similar view laid there also.
Thank you. And we still have some time for one more questions.
Yeah.
Whether we can have the Kanban and grid view based on the user role?
I think you would have noticed that I activated this from the customization area. So I think it's pretty much I mean, on the organization level, it's not a personal setting that you can make on a user-to-user basis. And I haven't explored that, to be honest, but what I would assume is it's basically organization-wide. So as I said, if your organization already has this practice of working in an agile fashion, they are pretty used to using the physical Kanban boards, as you would have seen in the presentation, 2 people standing in front of it, discussing the different cards or the tickets that are in one of the fish lanes. So if the nature of your organization is like that, then switch it on for your organization. But if the nature of the organization is not that, then probably don't do it. When it comes to different business units, yes, then in that case, if you have different instances churned out for different business unit in your organization, then you can have it by individual instance basis. But at the moment, I think once you start it for a certain instance or environment or an organization, Dynamics organization, it's the same thing for everyone.
Okay, thanks. I think that's it for now. And thanks, Paul, for your wonderful session and insightful information. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, everyone. I know this is shorter, but some of the times we really need to focus on one feature which may help one or the other person in the community to activate it for one of their customers or showcase it to their management as part of one of their sales wow factors. So make use of Kanban and feel free to reach out to one of us. You are always welcome to reach out to me over LinkedIn, over email, and on community page as well. And I would like to get engaged to help you up with Kanban if we want to do something together. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.